Hello. If you're sitting on Valentine's Day with significantly fewer cards and love letters than you might like, or like me, none whatsoever, then let me offer you a crumb of comfort. At least you're not Victorian, you've not received any of these. These comic cards are known as Vinegar Valentines, and like many Victorian inventions, they fill a niche that nobody in their right mind would think was even necessary. And that is, once you've sent pleasant romantic cards to all your suitors, paramours and crushes, what do you send to the people you hate? Well, sensible people amongst you might say nothing at all, but that's just not the Victorian way. No, you send the Vinegar Valentine. These are a British and American novelty, and they can be picked up at most convenient outlets, most low-end stationers, and they would cost about a penny to buy and a penny to send. At least that's what they would cost in 1840. If you were receiving one of these before 1840 and before the time of the penny black, then frankly, you were not only being insulted, but you were paying for the postage as well. Now, some of them are just a good rebuke to an unwanted suitor. After all, it's not like harassment from men is something new. So you could get the message home by sending something like this one here. And the little poem on it would say, "'Tis a lemon that I hand you and bid you now skidoo. Because I love another, there is no chance for you." A gentle letdown, I'm sure you'll agree. Not one that I'd want to pay the postage for, mind, but gentle and eloquent all the same. The trouble is they, like everything, can get nasty. Take a look at this one. Your bright shining pate is seen at all shows, and invariably down in the bald-headed rows, where you make conspicuous by your tender care your true ardent love for that one lonesome hair. Ouch. As a somewhat receding gentleman myself, I'm feeling how rather hurt. Way to crush a guy's self-confidence while you're at it there. Now, women come off just as badly as men in these as well, often worse. If you trawl through the archives of these, then you'll find there's a 60-40 split between women and men as targets for the abuse. And this itself is interesting. Scholars of card culture highlight that 80% of greeting cards are bought and sent by women, which means approached mathematically, half of all Vinegar Valentines could be being sent by women to other women. And these were not just minority sales either. Surveys show that they accounted for 50% of card sales across the UK and the US. That's 750,000 abusive cards in Britain alone. They're often targeted at people who are stepping outside the precise Victorian prim standards. You could send them to ugly people, gossips, bad singers, drunkards, henpecked husbands, even overly affectionate couples in love. But here are two cards that really caught my interest. Yeah, these are aimed at equality campaigners and at suffragettes. Take a look at that vile poem on the right. Your vote from me you will not get. I don't want a preaching suffragette. I dare say she doesn't want you either, sir. Now, Vinegar Valentines were condemned as the morally reprehensible tool of the vulgar lower classes. The New York Times in 1866 blamed them for the increase in swearing amongst men. But I'm not convinced. I've grown up, lived and worked in some fairly rough communities, and I didn't find the people that passive-aggressive. When the situation called for conflict, they'd be just aggressive without feeling the need to hide behind things, and they wouldn't do so anonymously either. This appears to be an attempt to put someone down from a veil behind the postal system, and that's just not the lower class way. The Vinegar Valentine, in my view, is much more the preserve of the upwardly mobile recent social climber. Very much a middle class thing. Now, they're not without consequences. In 1885, London's Pall Mall Gazette reported that a husband shot his estranged wife in the neck after receiving a Vinegar Valentine that he could tell was from her. And there was a report of someone committing suicide after receiving an insulting Valentine, which was not entirely surprising, considering that that's exactly what some of them, like this one here, suggested. Now, they stayed with us through the 1950s, and although there are still some questionable joke cards available today, the idea of the Vinegar Valentine has now beautifully died out, possibly, however, having been replaced by straightforward trolling. Today, you can leave us a bitchy remark in the comments below, or on Twitter, or on Facebook. But 150 years ago, people had to buy the card and post it. So please respect that. And if you're going to leave us a cutting comment, put some damned effort into it, will you? Thank you. Goodbye for now. Stay healthy and don't get lonely. Bye-bye.